Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see if this works. 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, looks like we in business. I don't know what is going on, child. They don't want me to be great, but they not gonna stop me ever. Okay, now we back. We got sound. I'm here. My time has dwindled down tremendously. However, I'm gonna bring it like I do. Okay. So we are going to just go ahead and jump on in, child. Woo! Let me say hi to everybody. I appreciate your patience. Oh my goodness, Juti. Yes. Wow, Wayne, thank you so much for being my sounding board. Baby Yoda, thank you for the bells and thank you for being here, child. Let me scroll up because I know some people were here earlier. Black Letter Law, yes. UK Faith, Love Queen, Baby Yoda, no, Michelle, all my people. Ah, okay. Listen, I apologize for the delay. I'm just gonna say, let's get right on into the courtroom. We are on the stand, continuing with the ex-assistant David James. He was Diddy's ex-personal assistant. Now, remember, people, we are here to, we and the government are here to prove RICO charges. Okay. And under that umbrella, there are many elements, I think 5: coercion, force, extortion, arson, all kind of stuff, child, all kind of stuff. And people out here saying, I don't see no RICO. I don't see no RICO. Well, it looks like it's about to be starting to get seen. The government is putting yet another brick in their house of proving Diddy guilty. Okay. Another day, another brick in the government's house. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, on the screen, this is the this is the David James that showed up to court based on this sketch from the courtroom artist. Now, this is the David James that was working for Diddy back in the day. That's him with Capricorn Clark, his ex-assistant, who may or may not be testifying herself. But this is him then. This is him then as well. And this is him today. And I'm pretty sure this trial has not helped at all if any of those grays are stress related. No, it's talking about stress and grays. There's your boy in court, always trying to look. Now, mind you, on the right side of him is the jury. As you can see, excuse me. Do I have the picture that shows the jury on the right side of them? I don't know. This is Nicole Westmoreland, the newest one of the newest attorneys. And this is the other guy. I can't think of his name. But child, Diddy done got a new attorney as of today. Jonathan P. Bach of Shapiro Arato Bach LLP. So he has yet another attorney on board. With that being said, let's get into it. Oh, I have to reshare the screen. They tried me today, y'all. They didn't want me to come on. I'm telling you, they don't want me to be great and do the thing. Inner City Press on the job, as always. Thank you so much for your coverage, sir. Matthew Russell Lee on X, live tweeting from the courtroom. Okay. Lots going on. Day 7, week 2. We can jump right on in. We get to the top of the thread. So, like I said, we're on board, back on board with David James on the stand. So Matthew Lee, the reporter, starts off by saying, okay, U.S. versus Sean Combs. Week 2 begins with judge ruling on scope of Dawn Richards' testimony. Then, oh wait, this is yesterday. Is this yesterday? Oh, okay. I'm reading the wrong thread. Sorry. Okay, U.S. versus Sean Combs, day 7, from personal assistant through exotic dancer to Cassie's mother and a chef. Okay, that's who we're going to be talking to today. We and the government, okay? So he says, before the jurors come in, Combs Agnifilo says, we oppose David James testifying about the incident with Suge Knight. He's going to mention D-Rock, say he was a friend of Biggie Smalls. That's decades ago and not relevant. The judge says, seems you are previewing your cross. So he's basically, the judge is saying, it seems like you're giving us what's going to be on your cross-examination for this person. Like, why are you telling me that's what you need to be handling on the stand? Or while you have your chat with him while he's on the stand. That's your job. So the judge seems already like he ain't playing no games this morning. Don't start with me, Ignifilo. D-Rock's been mentioned a lot during this trial. I'm expecting to see him on the stand at some point, as not sure which side, can't say. Also, by them trying to open the door, child, to Biggie, because you know who gets the blame for that one. That's going to be a big deal should they mess up. The defense could open a door, or anything can happen, child. They're saying it's not relative. And the judge says, save it for your cross-examination. The reporter notes that witness/personal assistant David James takes the stand. Judge Subramanian says, good morning and welcome back. He says, then the courtroom deputy says, we are missing 4 jurors. It may be the subways. The judge says, okay, we'll reconvene. Oh, wow. 4 jurors late. A weekend. So they say, okay, the jurors have belatedly arrived. Prosecutor Slavic says, what about physical violence between Mr. Combs and Cassie? Did you personally observe it? David says, no, I did not. Do you remember a blog post? He says, yes, I was in LA when he came back from a club. What did Mr. Combs say? That someone was lying on him, saying he hit Cassie at the club. He went through my browser history. No one had ever done that to me. Dang, so Diddy was checking his phone. Prosecutor says, did Mr. Combs give you instructions about Cassie? James says to bring her food at the London hotel, some Roscoe's. What is Roscoe's? Some delicious fried chicken in Los Angeles. It used to be. Okay. Prosecutor Slavic says, what did you do for Mr. Combs in New York? He says, I'd bring him applesauce, Jell-O, Fiji water, his toiletry bag with ointments just for men. Just for men, y'all, the hair coloring treatment. We bought 40 items so he wouldn't call us later. I'd get a key like at Trump International. I'd set up the medicine bag and the personal LV bag. So if you aren't catching on, this is his ex-personal assistant letting us know what part of the enterprise did he play. He was setting up the FOs, handling all the rugs. He said, the prosecutor asked what was in it. He says, a Viagra, ecstasy, perks. And how did you go about replenishing these supplies? I used my personal credit card. Bad Boy paid me back. Bad Boy paid me back, y'all. So that's him and the connection to his company, Bad Boy Entertainment, with these shenanigans. Yeah, there's a special section in the indictment just for this. Prosecutor Slavic says, who paid you back? And David James said, usually bonds. And that's James Bonds, the security guy. I don't know if his name is James Bonds. I know he said he was inspired to change his name because of James Bond. Anyway, prosecutor said, did Mr. Combs ever stay alone in a hotel? Never. Usually Cassie, sometimes other women. So he basically was an incessant cheater. He cheated on everybody. He was never monogamous to anyone in particular, and he was a serial cheater. Usually Cassie, sometimes other women. Usually Cassie. Did he ask you for things during a stay? He texted me for an iPod or food. Did anything strange ever happen? Yes, in Miami. He asked for an iPod from his house on Star Island. I drove it to his hotel and knocked. No answer. I had the key, so I'd set up the room. What did you see? Cassie on the bed. There was another person who sort of scurried away, and the shower was on. I thought Mr. Combs was in there. How was she sleeping? On her back. Objection. This is Agnifilo. Judge sustains. What about the other person? He was about 5'8" with long hair and a large endowment. He scurried away. He noticed that, didn't he? Did you ask anything? I wasn't hired to ask about their personal affairs. Did you ever pick up rugs for Mr. Combs? Yes, Percocets at a pharmacy, sometimes in my name. Oh, another crime committed. David says, I don't recall that. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, he did say sometimes in my name. And then the prosecutor said, did you give him permission to use your name? I don't recall that, he said. The government says, was there a rug dealer? He says, yes, One Stop. What a name to have, right? One Stop Shop. The prosecutor says he met with a lot of people. Yes, even former presidents. Oh, yeah? Which one? The government is asking. He said former President Obama. What was Obama doing meeting with Diddy, child? The government asked, what was your understanding would have happened if you hadn't done these things? Agnifilo objects, and the judge sustains. Did you ever take ecstasy? What do you mean? Oh, no, sorry. He says, yes, I was drinking Ciroc. I took ecstasy. I was Diddy bopping. Whoo! He actually officialized the term Diddy bopping. I use that all the time. Prosecution asked, what do you mean? He says, I was vibing. Did you speak with Mr. Combs about it? James said he was reviewing footage of the party. We had a videographer who filmed the parties. He asked me, hey, Playboy, was that you dancing around at the party? I said, yes. And he said, I'm going to keep the video in case I ever need it. Prosecution asked, meaning? He says that I'd be embarrassed. Oh. So that was Diddy. I was confused. I thought the videographer asked him that. So that was Diddy saying, hey, Playboy, was that you dancing around the party? And he said, I'm going to keep it in case I ever need it. Okay, so it was a threat. Prosecutor Slavic says, did anything ever go missing? He says, they said a bracelet was missing. Uncle Polly came to my hotel room and searched my belongings and those of my girlfriend at the time. Could you have said no? Agnifilo objects. The judge says to move on. Slavic says, did you ever have to take a lie test? He said, yes. Who was present? Just me and this gentleman. It was very intimidating. They put monitors on my head and my chest and my hand. Could you refuse? Not to keep my job. I wouldn't have wanted the damn job at this point. Slavic says, did this happen again? He says, yes, when Mr. Combs said a watch of his had been stolen. What was the end result? The gentleman told me I seemed nervous. I said, sure I am. Once Capricorn Clark had to take a lie detector to prove she wasn't a part of a heist, Mr. Combs' jury. Was there an incident at Mel's Diner with Suge Knight? Yes, I drove the Silver Navigator to get cheeseburgers there. D-Rock said, that's motherfucking Suge Knight. He went over and said, what's up? Suge didn't recognize him. D-Rock said, I'm Biggie's boy. Oh. D-Rock said he was Biggie's boy. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess so, because he works for Diddy. All right. Prosecutor Slavic says, what happened next? David says, we noticed 4 black SUVs to different sides. I saw someone hand Suge Knight a GUN. D-Rock said, we got to get out of here. We drove back to the house. Slavic said, what did you find there? Cassie was crying. Mr. Combs got in the vehicle. I saw 3 GUNs on his lap. I felt calm because we'd been in a silver vehicle, now a black one. They wouldn't see us coming. Prosecutor says, what did you find at Mel's Diners? He says Suge Knight had left. Mr. Combs said, drive around the block. What did you decide? And David said to leave the company. They offered me other positions, but I just wanted to leave. My life was at risk. Yeah, you running around chasing after Suge Knight with GUN in his city, technically. I mean, it's not really his city, but you know, you at Mel's Diner, you in LA, baby. So I wonder, so D-Rock called Diddy and told him, I'm up here picking up these cheeseburgers from Mel's Diner, and guess who I see? And then went over and said what's up to Suge. In other words, giving him kind of a warning or a heads up, in my opinion. Because Suge is not going to sit around at Mel's Diner knowing Diddy is there and a phone call away from old boy that's standing at your window. Okay, I'm interested in this part of the conversation because honestly, this is what everybody's been wanting, is for Diddy to stand up and speak his piece, his truth, not what he been saying about what happened to Big. Gene Deal been saying it, and he's been at court. He's still at court, and he actually may testify. I think I said they don't want you testifying if you've been in the courtroom during the trial, but I don't think that is actually the case. You know, I got to watch who these people are I'm listening to, child. All right, back to what's happening in court. Okay, so he said his life was at risk, so he quit. And Prosecutor Slavic said no further questions. The judge goes to Agnifilo at this point, and Agnifilo says, you didn't tell him that you didn't tell all this the first time. This is what Agnifilo says. James said, they told me to stop, to not say anything that would incriminate me. Oh. Agnifilo says, look at the notes from your interview. Read it to yourself, then look up at me. He said, okay. Agnifilo asked, how did you recognize Suge Knight? How do you recognize him? David says, I listen to hip hop. He says, were you drinking or smoking pot? No, sir. Your mind was clear. As clear as it could be, working 20 hours a week at 4 a.m. D-Rock opens the door. Suge Knight is a few cars over. David says, window open. James says, D-Rock says, I'm Biggie boy. And then Suge recognizes him, gives him a dab. Agnifilo says, what's a dab? He said, a handshake. Did you leave D-Rock at the diner? Why are you smiling? David James says, because that's a crazy question. Why would I? Meaning leave him at the diner. Didn't you leave D-Rock at the diner? That makes no sense, is what David responded. Agnifilo asked, Well, I'm not asking what makes sense. I'm asking, did you? James said no. You said you saw Cassie and Mr. Combs? He said, yes, Mr. Combs told me to drive. Why don't you know where Mr. Combs got the GUNs? Or you don't know where Mr. Combs got the GUNs, do you? I didn't know we had GUNs until then. Have you ever been in a situation like that? He says, no. You didn't say, I don't want to drive to Suge Knight with GUNs? He said, no. What exactly did you do before you got this job? I was a door-to-door salesman, then personal assistant. Now you were going with GUNs to confront someone? He says, it was not ideal. You knew how to get to Mel's Diner, right? I frequent there all the time, he said. You've never seen GUNs before, right? He said, no. This is a departure from your job description. Is that an understatement? It's the understatement of the day so far. Do you have immunity? He said, ask my lawyer. I have some kind of offer agreement. Ignifilo said, proffer. Proffer is a queen for a day. It's not like immunity all across the board. This is how Keefe D got himself in his trouble. Ignifilo says, you didn't tell anyone about this? He said, only my wife. Did you meet with the government this morning? He said, yes, briefly, about what might come up in Cross. Did the Mel's Diner incident come up? Not that I recall. It's this morning. What did you talk about? Your style, he said. There was some laughter in the courtroom. Wow. Ignifilo says, I'm dying to ask what they said, but I won't. James says, Ignifilo continues, I have a few more mundane questions. James says, I love mundane questions. Ignifilo asks, where did you travel with Mr. Combs? He says, Ibiza, London, Saint-Tropez. Were these vacations? James said, business oriented. What were you hired as? James says, personal liaison, but I was a personal assistant. Ignifilo says, he met a high level roster of people. And James said, second understatement of the day. Ignifilo says, why? He said, because he met with a who's who. Ignifilo says, it was important to be prepared for these meetings, right? He said, yes. It was important that he be on time. James said, no, we change meetings to all the time. Show up at a certain time. Ignifilo asks, he has security because people wanted to touch him, right? He said, yes, in the airport, in McDonald's. Was he gracious? I don't think gracious is a word I use for Sean Combs. Let's remember, Sean Combs is sitting right there, front row. I think he's in the second row, but facing his these witnesses here. So for them to say this stuff, they've probably been wanting to say this for a long time. Ignifilo asked if he signed autographs. He said no. Ignifilo asked, you said he'd stay in the studio until 3 or 4 a.m. and you'd stay with him? James said, yes, it was common. What sort of things would he want to always have with him? And James said ketchup, for example. Did you know he put applesauce on cheeseburgers? Ignifilo asked that. James said no, but I knew he liked applesauce. Ignifilo says he liked Astroglide, condoms, and baby oil, but you didn't expense it through business. He said, not, usually not. I was told he didn't want to run them through the company. He didn't want a record of them. Ignifilo says, when you bought the 8-ball of COKE on Saint-Tropez, you didn't tell Mr. Combs, did you? James said he was asleep. Tell me about your relationship with Roger Bonds. James said, we talked about Bad Boy as a family. What do you mean? Mama Combs called me her son many times. What was the mission? Ignifilo asked. He said, make sure he's happy. Was it fun? I enjoyed it from time to time. What was your relationship with Chef Jordan? Professional. Did you choke her? No. Objection. The prosecution objects. Judge asked for a sidebar. Anytime it seems like real violence comes into play that he's not expecting, the judge gets a little shook. Ignifilo, so I guess they're back. Ignifilo says, tell me what happened. Judge said, get off this. James said, we were on Star Island. Oh, he said, okay. Yeah, he wanted to know what was going to come up before he moved this forward. So he explains, we were on Star Island. She told me where to take him. I grabbed her 2 wrists and said, stay in your effing lane. Wow. So Ignifilo asks, was there fallout? And he says, it was reported to corporate HQ. Mr. Combs called me in. Mr. Combs told me, you can't be putting your hands on women. He told me to give her a gift. Wow. Ignifilo says, what did you give her? He says, I rolled up a blunt and gave it to her. Did she like it? It appeared she did. Wow. Ignifilo asks, you were in a car with Mr. Combs and who? He says, Chris Lighty. Uh-oh. Ignifilo says, have you taken ecstasy? James said, I party, sure. What were things like in the studio? Rugs. Or rugs? He says, yes, it's a creative environment. I didn't smoke when working with Mr. Combs, but he caught you smoking once. I thought he was in for the night. I lit up. He came out. He said, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He said, if you're man enough to smoke, you're man enough to tell me. I said, okay, I'm smoking. He said, if I did it again, he'd fire me. Ignifilo, wow. Ignifilo says, how about when you picked up 2 prostitutes and had sex with one? The prosecution objects, and they say objection 403. The judge overrules. James said, she asked for $200. I called Bonds and asked, what the hell? She asked me to take a shower. I said, that's $200. And they apparently he had people laughing throughout his testimony in the courtroom. Ignifilo says, on that note, no further questions. Judge asks if there's a redirect. Slavic says, what about the incident in Alpine, New Jersey? James said to file a police report and say that Chef Jordan had been the aggressor, but I didn't file it. I drove around and told him I made the report. So he told this guy to go to the police and she was the aggressor to him. See, this is the type. Let me just keep reading. Prosecution asked, what have we asked you to do? James said, tell the truth. Prosecution said nothing further. The judge asked if there's a recross. Ignifilo steps up, says, you lied to Mr. Combs about filing the police report? He said, yes. Ignifilo says nothing further. Could we have a break? And the judge calls the break. Child, let me see what y'all are saying, if anything. Judy. Oh, you thought you were late. Okay. All right, y'all. Yes, please like the video. Ray all day. Okay, let's get back to it. Let's get back to court, baby. So they're back, and the judge says to the jurors, I'm going to try to get the temperature turned up in here. I'm cold. I'm cold. I'm told it's complicated, but I'm freezing right along with you. And there's some laughter. The government says, the government calls Regina Ventura now. This is Cassie's mother. Let me change the The assistant is sketchy, you say? Yeah, he might be a little slick. He might be a little slick. I don't know if I have a sketch of the mom, but I'll just put Diddy back up here. I think the mom was in the courtroom yesterday. All right, so the government asked, her name is Regina Ventura, Miss Ventura. The government asked, where do you live? She says, New London, Connecticut. How many children do you have? 2, Roderick and Cassandra. Who is this? Sean Combs. He dated my daughter. When did you meet Sean Combs? 2006. My daughter signed with his Bad Boy Records. He was her boss. Then they started dating. They moved to LA. Such the PG version of the situation, and that's coming from me. Prosecution says, read this message from December of 2011. Ms. Ventura says, Cassandra wrote to me. She says Sean Combs threatened to release a SEX tape and go after her and Mr. Muscuddy, or Kid Cudi. Prosecution asked, how did you react? She said, it made me sick. Sean Combs demanded $20,000. He said to recoup losses due to Mr. Muscuddy from my husband and myself. So he went, sidebar, he went and extorted Cassie's parents because she's dating Kid Cudi. Supposedly she had broken up with him, with Sean. So he's mad that she's with somebody else and wants the money back that he spent on her while they were together. Money that he was supposed to be spending on her studio sessions, her producing, her all the things to make an album or records. He was supposed to spend that money there. And instead, he spent it on hotels and FO. The prosecution says, why did you take a loan to pay Sean Combs? So they had to take a loan, child. She says, for the safety of my daughter. The prosecution says, look in the binder next to you. Ms. Ventura says, these are photos I took of my daughter's bruises from Sean Combs. They ask her if she knows Mia. She says she was an employee of Sean Combs. I'm wondering if Mia is Capricorn Clark, because I think Mia's going to testify. They said she's using a pseudonym, but her name has come up a lot. But they do refer to her as Capricorn Clark in some states, some places. So I don't know. All right. Do you know Mia? She was an employee of Sean Combs, and prosecution asked what happened. She said, we were in his kitchen laughing. Sean asked why she was laughing. She stopped and looked plain. So the government asked, now to August 2016, we're done with the binder. So she couldn't even laugh. Wow. Prosecution says, why did you call the police? She said, while in LA, did you call the police? She said, yes. Sean Combs stole Cassandra's phone. They had a bitter argument outside her apartment building. She lived on the 17th floor. They argued at the roundabout. They say, who else was there? She said, D-Rock. D-Rock was always there. Is Damian Butler his government name? Ooh, they putting his government out. She said, he was standing between us. I tried to hit him. Sean Combs took Cassandra's car, a Jaguar. Took her car too. Prosecution says no further questions. The judge asks if there's a cross, and guess what? The defense says no questions. They don't want to touch Miss Regina Ventura, honey. Excuse me. She stood on business, honey, with her daughter. Got a loan. Oh, to pay this demon. So the judge calls the next witness. Let me see if y'all have any comments before I move on. No, I don't see no action. Okay, let's keep going. Next witness. The government calls Mr. Sheree Haynes. Where are you from? Mr. Haynes says, Harlem, New York. What was your work? Male exotic dancer. I was known as the Punisher. Ooh, child. Now we got the Punisher in the building. The government asks, do you recognize these two? He says, I do, Mr. Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. I was hired in 2012 to create a sexy, erotic scene for them. So they are showing some photos. Hey, G. Washington. I did hear the money was given back, but he didn't tweet that the money was given back in the testimony. So I'm just really doing the tweets right now, and I'm going to go over the extra stuff that I have seen and heard from people on the ground after I do this testimony. But yeah, I think that he gave the money back, and they were saying that he asked for the money in the first place so he could have an excuse to basically own their daughter. So he didn't think they were going to get the $20,000. He didn't think they'd be able to pay him. So that way he could say, okay, you can't pay me that $20K, then she needs to come back to me then and work off this money. But they paid it to him, so that he supposedly paid it back. Okay, let me go on. Why were you called the Punisher? He says playing basketball on West 4th Street. The women who called you, what time did she book you for? The woman who called you, what time did she book you for? Midnight at Trump Tower, Central Park West. Strip tease for a small group of friends. Juti says the Punisher, he's a masochist or something. What a name. Yeah, he said it was playing basketball. I don't know. So the prosecution asked, when you got there, Trump Tower, how did Ms. Ventura appear? He said, in a bathroom with nothing underneath. Must be bathrobe. And a wig. I was expecting a crowd, but there was no one else. She told me she and her husband wanted to create a sexual scene with baby oil. So she's literally living out her own fantasies, meaning I think in her, at that time, in her little mind, she had been groomed. I think she would have accepted a marriage proposal from Diddy had he extended one. She probably would have enjoyed the thought of being his wife, knowing that all that was going to do is lock her in for legal means for him behind closed doors, of course, but to be abusing her the way he has been, but just under the title of Mr. and Mrs. She wasn't thinking clearly. The government asked, what did she hand you? He said $800. How was the room? Dimly lit, electric candles, bowls of water with bottles of baby oil in them. Bowls of water with bottles of baby oil. She told me not to acknowledge her husband, not to look at him when we came out. Did he come out? He says, yes, he was naked, but I couldn't see his face. It was like what a Muslim woman wears. You only see the eyes. He had a bottle of Astroglide. How did you recognize it? I use it, the purple top. How did it end? She went into the other room with him. When she came back, she asked if I wanted to finish. I said no. If they were happy, I was happy. She gave me more money. Did you do it again? Yes, 8 or 12 times. How did you end up recognizing her? I was a fan of Mr. Combs and I followed him on Instagram. I saw her on it. This would be a good place to break. The government is asking. The judge says break. I'm assuming this is a lunch break. Let's see. G. Washington said, I know him from B-ball. You know him from B-ball? Juti said, what baby oil on ice now? This is getting more ridiculous by the day. It is. It's a complete circus. All right, we're back. Prosecution asks, how were these sessions scheduled? He says, I'd be reached out to at 5 or 7 p.m. for later. They'd asked for a sexy scene, but I knew it would be more. How would it start? He said, baby oil, a sexy. Mr. Combs would direct. Prosecution asks, how did the direction work? Mr. Combs forward, move the camera, or what would happen sexually. You know, one time during sex, he dropped a stack of money. He said, I like this. It. I know y'all are like, you curse sometimes you don't. I don't know. Sometimes it some says don't say it. I don't know. Anyway, prosecution asked, how much baby oil did you use? Why they keep bringing up this baby? If this baby oil don't turn out to have been drugged at the end of the day, they keep bringing it up. Sheree, or the Punisher, he says a lot. We were supposed to be glistening as much as possible. How long would they last? He said 4 hours, a lot of waiting, maybe 40 minutes or so. I was supposed to finish in a specific spot. Then what? She would leave with Mr. Combs 10 or 15 minutes. She would turn in a bathrobe and pay me $2,000 or $1,200 cash. Did you think Miss Ventura was enjoying herself? Xavier objects. The judge sustains. Did you use drugs? He says, I'm not a marijuana smoker, but I did pull a Bill Clinton. I was handed a joint. Did you have performance issues? Having the woman's partner there? Yes. Did the issues affect your pay? Objection. The judge overrules. He says, wasn't sure how they calculated it. One time, Mr. Combs threw condoms on the couch next to us. I struggled. It was a failure. What happened? They went out. I finished. She came back and thanked me for privacy. Prosecution asks, what did you think would happen next? He says, I was worried I would not be used again. I hadn't done my job. He has said, I want to see you F her, and I couldn't. Are you writing a book? He says, yes, self-help about my ED, erectile, you know what? It's advice. In your book, did you write about the time with Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura? Yes, I call them a married, wealthy couple. How long is it? 6 pages out of 186. I sensationalize it. I wanted it to be enjoyable, highs and lows. No further questions. The judge asks Mr. Donaldson if he's going to cross, and he gets up and says, I'll try to make this as harmless as possible. Congratulations on your book. What's it called? He said, In Search of Freezer Meat. What's harder than that? Donald says, good title. He's like, noted. Donaldson asks, you have a website? He says, yes, now I'm a co-owner. All the male dancers are independent contractors. Donaldson asks, you've been doing this for 25 years? He said 30 years, coming up on a big anniversary. You dance with them? He says, and Hayes says, a professional dry hump. Donaldson, I was told at this point, Donaldson didn't know what he was talking about, so he had to repeat himself a whole bunch of times. You guys are laughing at this. He says, for 30 years, thousands of ladies, you try not to develop them, right? He says, you try not to, it's a job. But you talked with Cassie. He said, cordial. She asked you to be able to call you? He said, just to set up the sessions up. We were never asked to talk. She was comfortable with you. She said, no, he said. You had feelings for her? He says, incorrect. But you thought she was only doing this with you. He said, that's correct. She said it was a special occasion. So the defense is basically trying to say this was more of a throuple situation than getting paid for sex. Okay. You did develop feelings for her. He said, that's not correct. He said, you told the government. The government's notes say you developed feelings for her. He says that may have been taken out of context. He says you used your 25 years experience. The Punisher says, this was a different scene. Usually I aim for humor. Donaldson says, you wouldn't try to dry hump someone who didn't want to be dry humped, correct? Hayes says, yes, it's important to read the room. So you read the room with Cassie and she wanted, the prosecution objects and the judge sustains. Was Mr. Combs' request that you penetrate? He says, it was a demand, a strong suggestion. Cassie paid you even when she canceled. Yes, $500. Mr. Hayes, I wish you success with your book. He says, thank you. Judge asks if there's a redirect. The prosecution comes up and says, what made you think Miss Ventura was enjoying herself? He said it was the first time unprotected. And prosecution says, without the details. Donaldson objects. The reporter says, with the Punisher still on the stand, there is a sketch of him graciously gifted to the inner city. Let me take this down. Here's the picture somebody sketched and gave to him, he said, of the Punisher. I think there's pictures of him on the internet I have saved too. All right, no further questions. The judge asks anything from Mr. Donaldson. Donaldson says, what do you mean by steamy? He says, I felt it was enjoyable for Miss Ventura and Mr. Combs. Yeah, here's another picture of David James while he was on the stand. So now we finish with the Punisher. We're moving on. The judge says next government witness. Prosecution says the government called Special Agent Gerard Gannon. They ask him, where do you work? He says HSI, which is Homeland Security, in Miami in National Security Group. They ask him if it was in March of 2024. He says the HSI Human Trafficking Group, SEX and Labor in Miami. Okay, let me, what time did the search begin? He said after 3 p.m. Why so late? We learned Mr. Combs and his family were flying out of the country. Was there a pier on the property on Star Island? Yes, we had to monitor it. They were watching his ass. So they show a couple of pictures of Star Island. Prosecution says, why did you have to break open the gate? He says to make sure bad actors wouldn't have time to put those who would search in danger. What's this a photo of? The pool and the pier. After review of 2 Star Island floor plans, the government asks, what did you find here? He says parts of AR-15 rifles, SEX toys, and Astroglide. And the photos of the GUNs are shown to the jury. These magazines were loaded with bullets. The government asks, what do these show? He says the serial numbers have been cut out. Let's turn to 2 more exhibits. What are these? The ammunition we found. And these platform high heels, how high are they? 7 inches. This may be a good place to break for the day. I wonder the significance of the 7-inch platform high heels. Was Diddy wearing those? So the day is done. The judge said break for the day. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me make sure there was no, usually there's extra side talk. There's no extra side talk today. Everybody's giving him props for his coverage. Okay, I guess that's it for the day, child. Let's move over to TikTok real quick. Seven inches, Ray Ray. Did I get the video you sent me Saturday? I have to look, Michelle. I don't remember. You said it was him and his kids? About his babies. Andrew said, hey, Andrew, why would Diddy watch another man smack? Dude is weird at this point. I don't know who's more stranger, him or R. Kelly. Child, well, I don't know what it is about this whole watching the corner. I don't know what that is when he walks around like Godzilla all day long, beating on his chest. But when it comes to intimacy with his main girl or one of them, he likes to be in the corner watching. I don't know. Let's see. This is just a couple of people in the line.
Guys, Secret Service Sam here, president of TikTok. I'm here with Tisa, one of the top independent journalists here on TikTok, and also she's huge on YouTube. We are here in the line, guys. You can see that's the legacy media, right? And then us, independent journalists. There really is not a lot of us, is there, Tisa? It's like
there's not. Well, no, there's hundreds. There's thousands. Sorry, there's thousands,
but they're not here right now. We're here. Yeah. Look, I love all the influencers and everything, the journalists, but we're here now, and in spirit is important. Yeah. But what's important is in-person representation of your journalism, because they're all they can't say whatever they want. They got a boss. We are the boss. Okay. Yeah, he did Diddy trial. All right, we gotta be ready to go. Guys, Secret Service announcements for President TikTok. Here's where it gets nasty. Oh God, sorry guys, I'm here. Oh God, I was behind her. Hey man, line skipper. Guys, it gets so intense here. Hey y'all, I was behind Tisa. Hey, excuse me, I was behind Tisa. Thank you, ladies. I respect. You gotta respect the line. I was behind Tisa. I know, guys. Sorry. So intense in the line. Sorry, you guys. This is what happens, guys. You gotta, like, when you have your spot, you go, this is my man. You tell him what's up.
What's up? How y'all doing, man? Why is this white lady harassing me?
No, come on, stop that. You did the same thing to me yesterday. He's a comedian. He did the same shit. But people don't take it. They take it for real. Guys, love you guys. I'm about to go in. Okay. I guess
when you take it for real, I get under that skin.
Yeah, I know. Give him the handle.
Huh?
Give him your handle.
It's
Child, he almost got tricked out of his spot. All right, so a couple of things. So we had David James wrap up his testimony today.
7 of Diddy's trial, and his former assistant, David James, was back on the stand to testify. And let me tell you, he had laughing during his cross-examination. Yesterday, he testified that he worked for Diddy from 2007 to 2009, and today we found out exactly why he left. He said it had everything to do with that incident at the restaurant when Diddy found out that Suge Knight was there. That was revealed during his cross-examination, but let's go back to his testimony. James said that Diddy never stayed anywhere alone. Cassie was usually with him, and if she wasn't, there were other women. His favorite hotel was the Trump International, and he said that he would prep the rooms for him. There would be 30 to 40 pill bottles in the room, including, I hope I can say this up, Viagra, X, and Percocet. He would also have pills that would increase his sperm count. Then you have this tweet, which is very misleading, because if you read it alone, it makes it sound like Obama would go to Diddy's to get substances. But what was really said is that Diddy would take X that had a former president's face on it, and when asked which former president, he said Obama. Now, he said Diddy never wanted this stuff on the record, which included condoms, baby oil, lube, so he would pay for it with his credit card, and then Diddy's security would pay him back in cash. Diddy's security team would carry around a Louis bag that had 10,000 plus in cash. Remember in Cassie's testimony where in 2009, Diddy had hit her so bad that she had to hide in a hotel for about a half. Remember, Cassie said her mom called her saying she saw a blind item, but it didn't say any names, and she wanted to know if that was Cassie. Well, when Diddy found out about it, David James said he came home angry from the club and started accusing him of the blog post. That he stormed in and looked at David's browsing history and said that's never happened before. Said a few days later, per Diddy's instructions, he went and delivered fried chicken to Cassie at the London hotel. When he got there, Cassie didn't answer the door, but a staffer did, and she was there for about a week. At one time in Miami, Diddy was staying at a hotel and had asked him to bring his iPod from his house on Star Island. When he got to the hotel, he knocked, but no one answered, and he had the key because he had set the room up. And when he got in the room, Cassie was laying in the bed, but she wasn't moving. He said he saw another man in there who was about 5'8" with long hair, and he scurried away, but he also heard the shower and assumed Diddy was in there. He could be talking about the Punisher, but I guess we'll find out what happened that day when that escort testified. It's about a time where Diddy's watch or bracelet went missing and said that Diddy's team came and searched his and his girlfriend's belongings. It didn't stop there because Diddy had him take a lie detector test, and the man that was doing the test said he was former FBI. Said it was very intimidating, but he didn't refuse because he wanted to keep his job. Happened again where Diddy's watch went missing and he had to take a lie detector test, and the gentleman said to him, "You seem nervous," and he said, "Yeah, I am." Even said that Capricorn Clark had to take a lie detector test to prove that she wasn't part of a jewelry heist. Also talked about Diddy's parties and said one time he was drinking, he took X, and Diddy often filmed these parties. Said Diddy was reviewing the film and said to him, "Hey, Playboy, was that you dancing around at the party?" I said yes, and he said, "I'm going to keep the video in case I ever need it." Talking about the incident at Mel's Diner with Suge Knight, he said that was the reason he quit his job. He and Diddy's security guard, D-Rock, were picking up food for Diddy, and that's when they...
You said it's a bad echo? Okay, I'll pause it. She's just basically recapping. I was just trying to catch some things we might have missed in the tweets. But basically just letting us know that David James was there to establish this whole rug distribution situation he had going on. The fact that this guy set up these FOs and paid for things, and some payments that he got, a few of them came from the company. And then also Cassie's mom got up there. She gave it to him. I understand that she gave him a stare down on her way out the courtroom, and that she basically made sure that he knew that she wasn't scared of him, and she wasn't going to back down her testimony for him at all. We also had the Punisher and the Homeland Security agent testify. And I think that all the testimony is basically tying together all of the things needed to be proven for the RICO charges. Okay. The S trafficking has to do with, they said it doesn't even have to always be across state lines. The kidnapping, keeping somebody held so they can heal and nobody can have to see them, dragging somebody back to the hotel room. That's what that is. The rugs, it's been testified about in almost everybody's testimony pretty much, but this guy is the guy who made it happen. He had to bring a new lawyer in today. I don't know that sounds, sounds like they're still scrambling to me, scrambling and scraping. You bringing in new lawyers in during the actual trial proceeding, a weekend, you're adding extra bodies. And it could have to do with the fact that Mark Agnifilo is also on the team for Luigi Mangione. So along with his wife. What else? So the judge in the docket, on another note, he made some orders very clear in his memos. He said that the parties are supposed to be emailing, corresponding, putting all their correspondence and emails in the docket. The press sent a letter to the judge about it and complained, and he wants to make sure his courtroom is not breaking any rules or doing anything where it could be called into question during an appeal. And he also ordered parties to follow procedures for the duration of the trial with regard to submitting exhibits, and specifically told the government that the witness list needs to be given ahead of the week. So he's like, you need to stop holding this stuff. They've been holding this stuff pretty close to the vest. Very close to the vest. What else do we have here?
Girl, the day couldn't even get started for real for the judge to clock the defense. As always, I'm an attorney, just not your attorney. That's cool, because I ain't at trial bestie, and I'm keeping you updated on Diddy's trial. Diddy's old personal assistant, like from years ago, supposed to testify. The defense is worried that he gonna testify about like Suge Knight, Biggie Smalls. Basically, like all that stuff is relevant. Like we don't need to talk about that here. The judge is like, sounds like you're previewing your cross. Those were his exact words. What he really saying is, it sounds like you're gonna have to do your job. When it's time for you to cross the way.
Exactly. So, you know, the government, I mean, the defense is playing a lot of games. They trying to be real slick about a lot of things. I just want to make sure I'm covering everything I want to cover today, being that I had such hiccups, all these technical problems, child. Somebody was trying to keep me from going live. This is Cassie's mom. $20,000 extorted from your, can you imagine your daughter's supposed man who is, you know, for lack of better words, a star. I mean, he's a celebrity who everybody knows. Your daughter is significantly younger. She thought she was going to have this blossoming career. And then over the years, you just see things getting worse and worse. Your daughter is not putting no music out. You see things in the headlines and the blogs that you think might be talking about her. You're worried about her. She got bruises. And then she has to admit to you, he has a sex tape, a sex tape that he's holding over her head. Somebody else reported that the mother emailed from Cassie saying, Mom, listen, I just need you to know this. He's threatening to put this tape out of me on Christmas Day. You know, basically warning her parents that this is going on. They said the mom had tried to fight him at one point, physically fight him when they were all in each other's space. And that he kind of, you know, he held back. He didn't hit her or anything, but the bodyguard had to get in the middle of it. They said she had receipts for all the transactions she spoke on the stand. She had to, I think, mortgage her house to get the $20,000. So it's just really sad. I think he might have like 10 lawyers now, Juti. Let's see what this is. Former assistant says that he carried pills with him with Obama's face. That's right. Why was he so obsessed with Obama? There was some other testimony supposedly linking Obama to the rug dealer as well, saying the rug dealer served up Obama as well. He didn't tweet that part of the testimony. It seems that also TMZ, they said the prosecutors released all the photos of the S workers. Let's see, Diddy, I guess they had a type. But I know they like the melanated, according to a lot of people talking. I don't know if y'all knew about the newest civil suit. I don't know if I talked about it over here. The latest suit. Let me see if I can find the headline. You can't beat the headline. Where is that dang headline? Well, basically, the newest accuser in a civil. So here it is. They said that Diddy sued for alleged R word by woman who says his penis was Tootsie Roll sized. So he's a Tootsie Roll as well as all the other things we call him. Mr. Tootsie Roll said that he assaulted a woman in his Manhattan apartment, but the woman said she was actually relieved when he whipped out his, you know what, because she knew it wouldn't hurt that much due to a lack of length and girth. At least according to a new lawsuit, they say. Somebody said, everything I know about this man has been against my will. Somebody else said, well, explains where all his anger issues come from. So he's micro-sized. That could explain a lot of things as far as his anger problems. Yeah, most of the stuff I talked about. Gene Deal.
Yo, chill. Did y'all see today in the trial that dude James, oh God, I can't think of his last name, said that Diddy's drug connect One Stop was selling drugs to Barack Obama. Yo, Diddy plug was so good that Obama was allegedly getting his drugs from One Stop. That's what this dude James just testified to, that Obama, yo, they got to let out the Diddy sex tapes, boy. Yo, man.
So this might have been where I heard it from. Ray all day. Using a in that manner may be illegal. The likeness, you said. You mean as far as the rugs go, with his face on there? Right. I would think it should be. I mean, unless he's the one that got him out, that had him pressed. Make sure I get my cut and put my face on it. Ray 4911, straight out of the Narc handbook. Diddy is sick. Juti, haha, Tootsie Roll, almost better nickname than Puffer Fish. Yeah, we're gonna have to start calling him Tootsie Roll, child. Compensating. It seems his whole life has been about that. Right. Michelle said, man about your manhood, or might have to call it boyhood, Michelle. I don't know. Yeah, he mad about it. He has enough money. Don't they do enhancements for men? I'm surprised, he's probably too much of a bitch or a coward. Excuse me. He's probably too much of a coward to do that surgery. But I know they do surgeries for men. Let's see. So this lady, you guys remember the lady who got shot in the face at the club back in the day when the J-Lo Diddy relationship was going strong? They were at that club and Shine ended up taking the rap, remember? And this lady, she actually has a YouTube channel now herself, but this is her talking about, I guess, the fact that she wasn't asked to testify. Let's see.
I was shot in the face by Puffy.
What happened legally, like on the record?
They were concerned with him being able to pay off everybody on the witness list, and they cited my case, which is why they did not give the witness list until April 18th. They cited my case in their documents because they understood back then when his attorneys were granted the witness list up front, every single witness disappeared. Almost every witness. Did you hear what his attorney said at the beginning? His attorney said they were discussing having me testify, and his attorney said, there's only one living witness left from 1999. What? First of all, y'all weren't the attorneys of that case. Why would you know such a thing? Why would you be privy to this information? And first of all, that's a lie. There's not just one living witness. I'm here. Julius Jones is here. Lots of people are here.
Wow.
But why would that be information that you tell? This is what they told the U.S. Attorney's Office. There was only one surviving witness. That's a whole lie. Could it be because they paid everybody off or picked everybody off? I was shot in the face by Puffy.
What happened, Lee?
So his defense was saying nobody's left. They thought nobody was left. And that might have been the goal, to have nobody left. Wow, that is crazy. J-Lo is here. Shine is here. Yeah. Well, yeah, they're here too. Good point. That's a good point. I think they meant witnesses against Diddy, but yeah. What is this? Oh yeah, there's this little clip of Puffy with Kelly Osbourne when she was young. How they said he tried to groom her.
So Kelly went out last night, and apparently Puff Daddy told her she doesn't wear enough diamonds, and that he was going to get her a diamond watch. What the cutest watch you ever seen in your life?
Trust it.
You're crazy, Mom. That's gorgeous, though. Yeah. It's really gorgeous. You say he's got a nice old wig, you know? I bet it's smooth. I bet it's oiled.
Sharon Osbourne. Wait, hold on. Sharon Osbourne knew what she was talking about. Talking about it smooth and oiled. She knew what she was talking about. They had probably already partied together. But look at him licking his lips, hanging on to her. Jack said, I don't trust him. Take him, give him the watch back. So Diddy was giving out diamond watches back in the day. I guess she was a big conquest for him. Pretty disgusting. Pretty damn disgusting. Tootsie Rolls are smooth and shiny too. That is true. Tootsie Roll it is, y'all. All right, listen. Hopefully this day will be the one and only day I have these type of problems, but now I know what to do, at least. I appreciate your patience, and listen, I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow because this thing is going on again tomorrow. Wonder how Diddy's sleeping at night. Probably not that great. All right, y'all. Till then, peace and love.